Well, the federal government also confirmed today it will continue its legal challenges to a pair of human rights tribunal decisions. One of those decisions awarded $40,000 in compensation to 50,000 First Nations children placed in foster care. Another ruling orders governments to provide services immediately to First Nations children on or off reserve who need them and argue later about which level of government should pay for those costs. The court fights continue even though the House of Commons unanimously passed a non-binding motion presented by the NDP earlier this week calling on the government to drop the legal challenges as a concrete step in reconciliation. Bellegarde is the National Chief of the Assembly of First Nations. He joins me now. Chief Bellegarde, good to see you again. Thanks for your time tonight, sir.
Thanks for the opportunity, Peter.
Minister Miller confirmed it today. The Prime Minister did as well, saying the court challenges to the human rights rulings will continue when they're back in court next week. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I would hope that the judicial review that the federal government is doing and launching against the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal decision would stop. You're basically fighting kids, First Nations kids. And, we took many, many years for the CHRT decision and tribunal decision to come out. And so I would say the energy and effort and human financial resources fighting this would be better spent on implementing the CHRT tribunal's decision. That's my reaction.
The government says, the government says our role and purpose for going to court, we want to challenge the Human Rights Tribunal's jurisdiction in these matters. And the government says it's hoping for an out-of-court settlement that would see some children receive more compensation than others based on their experiences in the flawed care system. So what's wrong with the government's position, the government's arguments on this?
Well, I would say stop the judicial review and then make a fair offer because we do have a class action suit. Mm-hmm. And the teams are working together, lobbying, negotiating together. And I think if the federal government was serious, they would come up with a really good, fair compensation package for First Nations children. There's three components: the children component, the family component, and the Jordan's Principle component. And I believe if they're going to be serious about resolving this, then a fair compensation package should be offered.
How do you view the fact that the Liberal cabinet on this motion earlier this week abstained from the vote and the Prime Minister didn't cast a vote at all?
Well, obviously political solidarity. And, that's basically what it says and what it means. I just encourage them all again to get to the table, make a fair compensation package so we can get this resolved. It's taking many, many years to get the CHRT tribunal decision. There's no need for a judicial review. We looked at the legal court challenge or the class action suit to bring about fairness and justice for children. And the teams are working very diligently. There's a lot of dedication. There's a lot of goodwill on both sides. I just hope we can resolve it sooner than later.
There'll be another motion from the NDP that it hopes to put before the House of Commons tomorrow, this one calling on the government to recognize what happened in the Indian residential schools was an act of genocide. It's not clear the party will even get unanimous consent tomorrow to put that motion before the House. We'll have to wait and see on Thursday. But what do you hope will happen?
I hope it will pass, Peter, because I've publicly stated that the residential school system was a genocide on First Nations people. And if you look at the definition internationally about the definition of genocide, it's forcibly removing children from their territories, inflicting harm, and so there's no question through the residential school system, there was harm, there's even death. And the 215 gravesite, these special sacred little children have been discovered and they're speaking very, very loudly. So in my mind, in my determination, estimation, it does meet the definition of genocide. And I would hope that the appropriate vote passes, because that's what it is. And you have to call it what it is. It was a genocide of our people, and we still feel the intergenerational trauma and the effects of the residential school system.
The entire country is still coming to terms with, as you touched on, the discovery of the remains of those 215 children at the site of the previous school in Kamloops. You're planning a trip to the Vatican, I think, set for November to invite the Pope to finally make an apology for the role of the Catholic Church in this. He's still not done that. Had the opportunity last Sunday. Some people thought he might, but he didn't. Tell me about this trip and what you hope to achieve.
Well, again, we're working very closely with the Canadian Council on Catholic Bishops, and we'd hope that there'd be a consensus there to support everybody on this going forward. We have a bilateral relationship, or if you will, a work relationship with the Catholic bishops, with the AFN. And so we were planning a trip to go to the Vatican as well, to meet with His Holiness, to make the request formally, to come back to Canada, and to make the formal apology to the survivors and the families here, because that's all part of healing, that's part of closure. And the Roman Catholic Church is the only church in Canada not to make that formal apology. The United Church has apologized, the Presbyterian Church, the Anglican Church has apologized. This would be a very meaningful, a very special time to have His Holiness come to Canada to make that formal apology and speak to the survivors and their families. And so we're going to keep working towards that end. And it's a very important time. It's all part of truth-telling. It's all part of reconciliation and healing.
And why is it so important, Chief Bellegarde, that before you can move forward in the healing process and whatever connection that has to the Catholic Church, that apology from the Pope has to come first? Why is that so important?
It's all part of healing. The Catholic Church had a very big role in administration of the genocide of our people. It was a residential school policy that was from government, but the churches helped implement that policy of genocide. And to have the highest office of the Catholic Church, which is the Pope's office, His Holiness, to come to Canada, as per the TRC call to action number 58, to make that public apology and statement of sorrowness to the survivors would mean a lot to the survivors and families. And that's all part of healing, and we need to move beyond the residential school system and start healing. And so it's a very major piece to that. So we're going to keep advocating for that to happen.
All right, Chief Bellegarde, we'll continue to watch how that the attempts to get that apology unfold, and I appreciate your time tonight. Always good to talk to you. Take care.
Thanks for the opportunity again.